Hello, welcome to another Gundam Operation 2 video. That is the new suit, the Woundwort. And man, this is a very unique support. And I was kind of worried initially playing this, and I think I even mentioned in the testing video where I was kind of worried, it only has like one melee swing, one melee priority. It does have 3 melee weapons though. I was like, oh man, there might be some potential here. And unfortunately, my first few matches with this suit just did not go very well. I was just trying to figure out what I wanted to do exactly with this suit, but after a few matches, something clicked. I actually started doing combos and shit. So started actually doing combos and got some really good matches out of it. Speaking of matches, I got 2 here for you. This first one's going to be on military base at 450, and the second match is going to be in space on a resource satellite at 450 as well. And yeah, you heard that right, 450, which is strange for this. I feel like it would have been higher, and I think I've heard this from a lot of people now, that they feel like it should have been like at 500, 550. I think I've seen some people say 650, which I don't know about 650, but I do know for sure, like, it kind of feels like it'd be at least the upper end of the cost there, like a 500, 550, but at least from what I've seen, like, this thing was like a final boss in Gundam Breaker 3 and shit, right? But yeah, again, very interesting suit initially, whereas like I wanted to play a handful of matches in both space and ground with this, and as I mentioned, I do have 2 matches, 1 on each, and I feel like just to try to get a feel for the suit. And yeah, like I said, I got some really good matches, and yeah, you get to see some gameplay of it. And yeah, now we're gonna get into the stats for this suit. As I mentioned, this is a 450 support. You have 18,000 health with 0 ballistic resistance, 24 beam resistance, 18 melee resistance with 27 range strength and 27 melee strength. You have 130 movement speed, which is 180 in mobile armor mode. You have 190 boost speed, which is 225 in mobile armor mode. 70 thruster gauge, 66 turning speed, which is 54 in mobile armor mode, and for slots, you have 12 close, 11 mid, and 9 long range slots. And obviously the first thing that jumps out here for most people is 0 ballistic resistance. And I know there's some motherfuckers out there that are like, you don't have to worry about that too much. Your support, not like generals are going to do that much. Fuck off. No, they do that. They do a lot of damage to you. You have 0 ballistic resistance. So if you're watching, you watch out for a Camphor, watch out for suits that have combos that lead into like ballistic stuff, right? Like the Jettas. Watch out for stuff like the the Gundam Unit 5. That it will hurt, but fortunately, this is a cost where a lot of suits will be just using beam weapons as well. You do have beam resistances, and you do actually have some defensive tools at your disposal to try to mitigate having 0 ballistic resistance. And of course, if you want to build for that, you can also build for that as well. But yeah, and for the slots, definitely want you to kind of focus a little bit more in that close to mid-range. And like I said, this suit has 3... Actually, did I mention that? This suit has 3 melee weapons. So, it's not the first support to be melee-oriented, but yeah, this suit has a lot. So a lot of people figure that you want to put some melee parts on, right? And that's kind of what I focus my suit around. Is actually, not just melee. I did both melee and range strength. And I think the second build I did was actually a little bit more melee, where I threw in some melee resistance as well to try and help out for some more aggressive kind of stuff, like Arctic Base kind of stuff. Which, fortunately, I didn't get to play Arctic Base. Fortunately. Thank God. I actually got to play other maps today. So, so yeah, I did do some, basically just buff my damage up, essentially. And yeah, this suit does do a lot of damage. And what helps it does that? Well, the weapons here that I'm going to talk about. Starting off with your primary weapons, you have the boosted rifle, which is 1,800 damage, 80% heat rate, and 450 range, and you can charge this. And yeah, it provides a normal instant stun, first of all, uncharged. And that obviously that can combo really nicely into your weapons, other weapons, or you can charge this up to provide more damage with more range, and it does penetrate as well when it's fully charged. And it does do it does do more damage, where I've gotten like I believe over 4K damage on people, or at least close to, which is not too bad at all, especially when you start going into other stuff, other weapons that this suit has to melt general health. So Yeah, not too bad at all starting off here. However, the next weapon here is the blow. Yep, just the regular blow, no blow enhanced. That is 1,800. No, actually, no, just 1,000 damage. Oh, wow, I forgot how shitty that was using level 1. But, yeah, not even the enhanced. Enhanced, there we go. But, yeah, the neutral swing is just a straight punch. The side swings, just side punches. But the downswing is probably the most unique thing here, and probably the one you're going to be using the most. You do just a straight kick forward, like a lunging kick. You just actually slide forward. It's kind of awkward looking. It's like you're floating in space, but it does have a pretty good distance. Very narrow though. Have to be careful when you want to go in for that. The downswing, even though it doesn't look like it, it does actually hit on the ground on the initial slide. It doesn't do anything to people on the ground near the end of it, but yeah, if you hit somebody with I believe your leg that you're standing on, it will hit for some damage. However, the damage isn't really high on this normally. It does like what? The downswing is like 2,300 damage. At least commonly I've gotten 2,200 damage around there, maybe in 2,100. You don't want to start off with this, and that was kind of a fatal error I was making with this suit. Talking about how earlier I wasn't having really good matches with it initially. I kept trying to go for these weak-ass, just limp-wristed punches and kicks instead of just going for the real meat and potatoes of the suit, which is in your sub-weapons combined with your primary weapon, your range weapon. Which, hey, starting off with your secondary weapons here, that is the head-mounted Vulcan, which is 80 damage, 40 rounds, and 200 range. And yeah, these are actually just a step below really good Vulcans, where you have the GPO-1s, and I believe GPO2s as well, where they have 17. It takes 17 shots to stun. This suit takes 20 to stun, which, if you remembered correctly, that is you have 40 rounds, so that is half your ammo. That does guarantee you, if you're focus firing on somebody, that does at least give you 1 stun to work with. If somehow you're really lucky, you might get 2 somehow, but I doubt that. But hey, you at least throw in some of your your primary weapon to. You have to have maneuver armor to get a stun that way, right? And of course, you can use these as regular Vulcans, where if there's a really low health enemy, you can shoot them, finish them off. Or if there's pilots, you can target the pilots, get rid of them that way. Always a good way to take out pilots. And yeah, that's it for the Vulcans. Oh, of course, you can boost while using them, of course. Next weapon here, the start of your nasty melee weapons here. You have the Boosted Heat Blade, which is 2,000 damage, and it shares the same moveset, I believe, as the Hazenthley and the Ausla. Same with the the sliding down swing, the neutral swing. Though the neutral swing doesn't feel as janky as the Auslas. I feel like I get hit by the Auslas like just a mile away. It doesn't feel like that for this suit, but yeah, same moveset pattern. Does do some pretty good chunking damage, especially that downswing. I've gotten consistent 3,900 over 4K damage downswings. Especially if you're doing a melee build. Utterly killer on general health. You want to combo into this weapon after stuns or after the next weapon here, which is the Boosted Claw, which is 2,200 damage with 1 round, 150 range. And yes, this is a melee weapon with range. This counts as a kind of like a wire weapon, kind of like with the heat wires on the goofs and all that good stuff, right? Which I think I might accidentally call this heat wire at some point, but yeah, this is a wire weapon. It is the furthest wire weapon as well. That used to be on the Gyaradoga, but no, now that this suit has clearly beaten it, and by that I mean like you can be on top of a building, I believe on military base, you can be on top of the roof of the hangar on E, and just snipe at people down below. I say snipe, like kind of almost like mid-range people. It has really far range. Now, however, it does not heavy stagger, but I am totally fine with this. That was kind of something I was kind of concerned with in the testing video. I was like, oh wait, doesn't heavy stagger? Of course, this is support, right? Kind of like the Zalker Mariner. But no. The overheat, the reload on this is 7 seconds. And you have all that range, all that damage, because it counts as a melee weapon. And because it counts as a melee weapon, you will stop maneuver armor. Just straight up. So that means if a raid is really stupid and is boosting towards you just straight up, you can stun him. So this automatically makes it one of the best defensive tools a support can have in the game. And I say, automatically because there's not a whole bunch in the first place. unless you got stuff like stun accumulation. I think one of the best is would be like the Zeus's AoE missiles, right? But this is one of the best now because it will just straight up just stop a raid in their place, or a general, and it does feel like it has a little bit of homing on it. I'm pretty sure it does have something like that where if somebody's in your crosshairs when you fire the boosted claw, it will try to go in their general direction, right? I've noticed this whenever they're boosting sideways from me. Definitely, if they're in front boosting towards me, it's obviously going to hit more likely. But yeah, again, very far range, really good damage, breaks maneuver armor, really fantastic weapon. I do wish though that maybe this could have been like the goof, the regular goof, where the neutral swing would be, sending the wire out, and maybe the downswing and side swings can be just you swinging the claw around like a normal melee weapon. I'm not sure if that's what the boosted the boosted claw does normally. I'm aware of that it can be sent out like an incom, right? Maybe that could have been another weapon, because this is the last weapon, by the way. You only have like 5 weapons, 3 of them are melee, right? So yeah, it would have been kind of cool to have like an incom weapon, but I mean, I'm fine with it. But yeah, also really easy to combo into. You're going off of your primary weapon, just instantly go into this. You can't boost while using this, so you have to be at a standstill. You can hover a little bit, like if you're already moving in a direction and you activate this weapon, you can boost a little bit, so that way you can kind of move yourself around the corner. Preemptively fire, right? You can do stuff like that. Great weapon, great weapon. All right, and finally you have the. I said you only have 5 weapons. Technically, you do have a mobile armor weapon, so I forgot to mention that. My bad. Or forgot to include that. For the mobile armor mode weapons, you have the boosted rifle transformed, which is 700 damage, 20% heat rate, and 400 range. And yeah, this is you fire a burst of 3 rounds at an enemy. They'll get stunned if all 3 hit. And again, it does 700 damage, just base damage. And if you're building it for range strength, oh my goodness, you can do like 900. I think in the first match, I've gotten over 1,000 damage. So if you hit all 6 shots on somebody, to overheat, that's 6,000 damage. I mean, not to laugh at just hitting 3 initially, that's 3,000, and then you combo into your other weapons. That is devastating for having teammates follow up on, or you to follow up on afterwards. Really, really gross. You can't charge this, however. It is just that one weapon. So yeah, really great. But yeah, now we're going to go into the skills. You have scope level 2, radar level 2, data link, so you can see enemy health, and your teammates can see it because of that, because you're support. You have scouting device, you can see the radar while you're scoped in. Aerospace gimbal level 2, so you can look up and down further in space. You have transformation flight, as you've seen this match already a few times. You can press the touchpad button, you can transform and use your mobile armor mode weapon. However, because you are a support, you don't get shock dampeners when you're transformed. So yeah, if somebody shoots you, you're going to go down unless they hit you where your shield is. And that is the CS Booster Eye Field, which is I'm pretty sure the exact same skill that is on the Hasenthle. And what this does is somebody shoots you in the booster. I believe they shoot a beam weapon. It completely negates that stun, and you take 70% less damage. I believe this is it also negates ballistic stuns, I think. But I do know for a fact that if you get hit in the shield, is that it will increase your thruster gauge for every hit that you take there. And I believe that happens in this match, in the space match, where I'm trying to run away from the enemy team, and unfortunately my they're shooting like some kind of machine gun fire at me, and I get hit in the shield too many times, and then overheats my thruster gauge, and I can't run away anymore, which will happen. That can be a really bad thing to happen if you're in transformation mode. Now thankfully though, as I mentioned, that is a pretty good defense skill for you on transformation mode, because it does cover your front part of your body. And if you're trying to retreat, that leaves you open to getting shot from behind and getting stunned. But if you're heading towards somebody, it makes it easier to get your damage off, like your your mobile armor mode weapon, right? The rapid fire boosted rifle. So yeah, exactly like a Hasenthle. Now, however, it's still a bit iffy as a defensive skill. It's on its own. Uh, just because that it's on your arm, and the Woundwort is still kind of a easy suit to hit beyond the arm. And I mean, it's really easy. I think most Woundworts I fought in, I just shoot around the shield, you know. So it does kind of rely on hoping people that can shoot you in the shield, but it does protect you. I'll give you that, right? Just be careful. Watch your thruster gauge. If you're gonna hit, if you're gonna hit too many times in the shield, you don't want to be flying, and all of a sudden you're overheated and there's a raid in front of you, right? Um, Next skill here is the Blast Stabilizer, which, hey, Blast Stabilizer, mobile suit explosions do not heavy stagger you. Pretty nice to have on a support, right? And not only that, you also have balancers. It would kind of be terrible if you had melee weapons and you couldn't use them after boosting. That'd be really shitty. And then you have Force Injectors level 2. Takes less pressure gauge off when you're boosting back and forth. Oh, I forgot, you can also ram while in mobile armor mode. Can't forget about that. Can't forget about ramming people to death. And yeah, that is it for the Woundwort. And we're gonna go right into the pros and cons. Starting off with the cons, big one already is the 0 ballistic resistance. That's just a big no-no. People can cope all they want about generals do that much. They'll do more. They'll still do pretty good damage to you. Come on now. If there's a camphor, watch out for a camphor. You can you can melt the camphor, but if he gets the first hit on you, you're a support, bro. You can't dodge roll. You can't maneuver armor, which I guess that'll be your second downside, which should have been the first downside, because I always make this kind of joke when talking about supports. But you're a support. You don't have those kind of skills. You're not a 4-star, so you don't get resist movement or anything. No maneuver armor, so yeah, if you're fighting somebody that has multiple stuns, right? You're probably gonna have to eat those unless you can somehow try and move your shield out in front of you in time between stuns, which can be hard. Another downside is you only have one melee priority, and this is kind of a little bit of an annoying one, because at the same cost we have the G-Line Full Custom. Hello, thank you, text message. We have the G-Line Full Custom, which has 2 melee swings and 2 melee priority. It can clash with generals. I feel like that'd be pretty helpful for a really, really close range oriented suit like this to have the ability to clash with generals, be more of an annoyance that way. Another thing is, combined with that 1 melee priority, only 1 melee swing on each of your weapons. I feel like that would kind of help out to get maybe another swing. I mean, if they don't want to do another swing, that's fine. You already do some pretty amazing damage, but I think at least the 2 melee priority would be really helpful for this kind of suit. Next downside is that your flight, because you're a support, you don't get shock dampeners. Technically, you can have the shield to kind of help you, but if they shoot around it, you're stunned, you get shot out of the sky. Raid conveniently shows up with a heavy attack, just kills you instantly, so that's always fun when that happens. But so just keep in mind when you're around enemies like that there is a chance you can get shot out of the sky really easily. This might be the biggest downside, but just the way your playstyle is, you will have to get close to suits despite being a support, and some of those that can make it easier for raids to get to you, or just suits that can counter you completely. We mentioned earlier, you got raids to deal with where obviously if a raid touches you, you're just gonna die. You do have defenses technically. You have a really good defensive option with the shield, the boosted claw, right? But yeah, if a raid still gets to you, you're going to die unless you get the first hit off and try to fight them that way. We mentioned the low ballistic resistances, and just the fact that you're a support, you don't get a dodge roll or maneuver armor. So if you're in it, if you're in deep because you're trying to go into some melee combos, you'll be contending with stuff like the Jetta, the Gem Power 3, Camphors, again, raids, and you kind of have to stay at that kind of closer range, right? Because unfortunately, since you're so limited in range weapons, you'll be having a lot of downtime if you're just playing like sniper, right? You have to be, you're not going to be doing nearly as much damage as you would be going into melee, which unfortunately, I think a lot of people are going to be struggling with that, and I think the suit might actually get a buff in some regard to help it that way, for a lot of people, because I've been noticing, playing matches, it's been a slog watching some of these other Woundworts. He's just getting bodied when they try to go in for melee. Very, very unfortunate. Although there's moments where you can do just absolutely just just go beast mode on people, right? With the damage and all that. But yeah, I think they're gonna do something like, if they really want to be ballsy, maybe they can, besides melee priority 2, maybe they can damn, maybe they can even give it resist movement. This is definitely one of those supports that I feel like they can experiment with. And I think that would be a really nice kind of experiment to see. Give it resist movement. Do it, Bandai. No balls. But yeah, now we're gonna go on to the pros for this suit. Now there were some pretty good, I say pretty good, pretty bad downsides, right? But there are some pretty good stuff here too, where talking about the first of all, the weapons here. The damage output is insane on this suit. The weapons are very, very good, except for like blow. Blow is kind of something you want to end off a combo with, or kind of mix in to go into something else. It's not like your main damage dealing weapon, but or melee weapon. But yeah, you do have really good beam rifle. Again, it's useful in all ranges where it can snipe. This guy provides an instant stun, has penetration, has high damage when you charge it, along with the penetration, I should add. The boosted heat blade does a ton of damage, especially that downswing. The boosted claw is a really wonderful weapon, which is a pro on its own, where you do have a really good defensive tool here, where it actually stops maneuver armor. If a raid is being very, very stupid around you, yeah, you can actually punish them. I've seen some videos where like domals that thinking they can just run forward and try to just ignore everything what the suit is trying to dish out on them, and then they get hit by a boosted claw and they get comboed. And then, a general comes up and just finishes them off, So, it's happened surprisingly more than once that I've seen. So, yeah, if you're a raid player, make sure you try to avoid that. Don't be really, really predictable. Don't just boost straight towards the support. They're probably going to hit you with the boosted claw. As I support this suit, the Woundwort with the boosted claw. So, yeah, that's a really, really good pro here. Some of the pros, you do have some pretty good skills like blast stabilizer, balancers, force injectors, really good for the kind of melee combat you want with the suit. You do have that shield skill as well. The booster eye field can help out for beam weapons and staggers, right? It does, however, help you. It builds up your heat rate or your overheat. So be careful, watch your thruster gauge, all that good stuff. Another pro, even though I was kind of trashing it earlier, I mention this every time for support, is that even though you can get shot out of the sky really easily in flight mode, just having flight mode itself is pretty good, where you can relocate to safer positions. I think I've done that once or twice in these matches, or at least attempted to. So that's still a really good thing to have, especially since you get, let me double check, 225 boost speed, so that's definitely faster than the generals. So generals in some raids. So yeah, you can definitely use that to your advantage to again get to better positions, or to help initiate combos from a higher elevation point. All that good stuff. There's still a benefit to flying, even though you can get shot out of the sky easier than most suits that can fly, right? Transformation wise. And yeah, that will be it for the Woundwort. And yeah, I gotta say, even though there are some really, really nasty cons to the suit, but the pros are pretty damn good with how you can play this suit. It is a really fun, it's a really unique support to play. Again, I had my doubts playing it, like, testing out and then playing my first few matches. Then something clicked, I started doing really well with the suit, and yeah, I think I would recommend this suit if you like the Woundwort. I'm going to hold off like a full recommendation for now, because I think it might be tough for a lot of players to kind of pick up, just because of the way it is, being a support that has to thrive in closer ranges, right? And there's a lot of things that can happen that can kind of fuck you over. I've seen people throw around the word overpowered at this suit, and it kind of reminds me of like when people were saying that Justa Team A was overpowered. No, I would say wait a week, see what happens, see where the suit stands. I think it's going to be a good support, but I don't think it's going to be like overpowered or borderline overpowered, right? But, you know, who knows? We'll have to see in next week. And I think this suit will get buffed in some way later on. I do hope it's melee priority too. I feel like that'd be really helpful. You know, again, if they want to be really experimental, they can probably add some resist movement, you know. But yeah, again, really fun suit, really interesting. Had tons of fun playing once I learned to play around with it a little bit more. That's all there is to it. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe if you want. I'd really appreciate it. And let me know how you feel about the Woundwort. Do you like it? Do you hate it? And yeah, that'll be it. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.